business process outsourcing, once one of the fastest growing industries in the country. But since its peak in 2006, when profitability margins were as high as 40%, there has been a steady descent downhill for the sector. Attrition rates have accelerated to 30%, voice process units have scaled down by 60%, and many have even shifted base to countries like China, Malaysia and Philippines. With large international companies seeking alternative havens, is this the last call for India's BPO culture? Well, the BPO India Forum held in Delhi and Mumbai addressed the challenges, the new technologies and the road ahead for India's BPOs.
I will kick off with Keshav. If you can, there is a lot of talk about, this, how does the industry transition? So from, contact center, which is still there, 40% plus, to business BPO, to now, business process management is the new buzzword. So is it just old wine in a new bottle, or is it really something happening there? What's your view? What is the industry's view on that?
Fast forward the industry over 10 years now, you will see that the kind of services all of us now provide our clients is completely different. We're actually saying that this industry is all about business process management now. Today, all of us actually take charge of an end-to-end process inside a client's environment. The client now understands that we actually have people more qualified than their own people managing their businesses. We have people who are highly domain aligned, who understand the business domains far better than the client does. We have people who look at the business the same way that the client does, and we also have people who understand technology exceedingly well.
Chris, somewhere I read that Indian BPO industry serves some 66 countries. I mean, of course, the English speaking would be most dominant of that, but still it would need to serve the world, right? I mean, it can't be just limited. So, how do you, manage the different language, cultural issues? Are you spread out the world, or how do you?
Yeah, we do business in over 77 countries, and so it requires a significant investment in localization of the tools and the technology. Japan's very different than in India or in France. And so it does require a bit of localization, and it's not just translation, it's also culturally how to understand how we need to adjust our tools. So one of the components or the focus that we have is how we can help automate and streamline the processes versus force you as a BPO organization to change your processes to fit our tools.
Aegis, for example, I know, your model has been, acquire, and also integrate, and also, I believe your model is more serving locally from, companies you acquire in that country, right? What has been, your experience?
You first look at either acquiring a geography or you look at acquiring a domain. So for example, we acquired a couple of years back a company in the Philippines, because if you're going to do front-end support, front office support, customer contact support for US clients, Philippines is a big geography. So you acquire various geographies that are either very good as outsourcing centers or offshoring centers, or have a strong domestic market, to your second point. The third thing that you said is, yes, I think it's a good model, not just to look at the international business, but also to look at the domestic business of that country, because it gives you a lot of things. It gives you the ability to sweat your assets much more. So you might want to do domestic business at a particular time zone and international business at another time zone. It gives you the scale and therefore the economies of scale that a business brings.
For our industry, for any business, actually, it's a question of, one is the demand side, the other one is the supply side, right? How do you, from a supply side, what do you see as a challenge?
Yeah, I think clearly the major factor here is the talent challenge. But the interesting thing is the talent challenge is not just limited to us as providers, it's also the talent challenges within the customer base that we operate within. I think the other thing is also within the buyer community, because buying something that is more strategic in nature is very different to buying the more traditional types of outsourcing that we have seen. And I think one of the other limitations actually isn't so much from the providers, it's from the customers.
Industry has to think about the sales engine, right? You know, just like the supply side you talked about is to sales wise, you know, how do we sell it differently? You know, Dr. Patha, you know, Hinduja Global, for example, you were talking about some of the ways that you are thinking about, you know, sales.
The challenge has been to balance growth with profitability, and that's something that we've struggled in a few years that we've had furious growth. Today we've evolved to a model where I think as an organization we've become more global, we've understood ethos better, we've understood cultures better, so we're back to the model of having fairly high-powered sales guys who are locals in these geographies. And they are the guys who are able to meet and talk to the C-levels and sell to the C-levels and the board levels. That's the kind of profile that we've gone after, and it's been very successful.
In terms of the trends and the customer acceptance, we are seeing a lot of trends in terms of the new tools that we have brought in to, you know, optimize resources and, you know, forecasting and automation abilities on the back office. We're seeing great challenge trend onto the social channels, because that's becoming a new channel for interaction by the customer, and you know, from a single point to a multi-channel and now to omni-channel. So we're seeing a significant growth coming in those, and we're riding the wave.
Earlier in the BPO landscape, what you had was offshore. So there were clients which had delivery centers in India and the customers were in the US. Today, we are moving what is called a right-shoring approach. Second, when the offshoring industry started and the outsourcing industry started, the most important thing was labor arbitrage, which means it was far cheaper to do things in India. Today, clients and the industry have moved away from that. It is not, cost is important, but much more important is what is the value that you can produce, what are the differentiators that you have.
Huge demand for high value services. All of us are now focused on domain, technology, transformation, and driving non-linear models using a very empowered, you know, young workforce globally.
The good thing that I find out here is that the Indian players are doing really well in the global space, and we do have competition from, let's say, European players or American players who've grown up from those geographies, but I think India has made a mark for themselves because of the way we've woven in quality, lean, Six Sigma and all of that.
Coming up, the Accelerating Growth panel discussion in Delhi.
My first question to you, Pawan, in terms of the key lessons, and you know, we do an event like this every year or twice a year. 2008 was a watershed year for the economy, for the world, and we still see that panning out. And perhaps the BPO sector was counterintuitive in some ways, that it actually helped the world and companies and the economy ride out that. The second major watershed event was the anti-BPO rhetoric that we heard in the United States. Politics after the economic downfall. We are now at a situation where these two situations seem to have been dealt with and are behind us. When you look forward, what are the next major couple of watershed events that you see for this sector in the 2 to 3 year time frame?
Now the challenge is that when you start optimizing for customer experience, the benefits of that are a little less tangible, at least the way a typical finance professional sees it. Yeah. Right? Whereas the immediate gain in reducing your average handle time by a minute is you know, very quantifiable. And I think unless this mind shift occurs right at the senior leadership level, which impacts the very cultural fabric of these companies, right, that change is going to be hard. I think the other piece which is happening is that consumers who are now getting online, and especially in growth markets, and India being a classic example, are no longer going to use a PC to access the internet. It is all going to be through the mobile phone. I think what social media is doing is transformational to customer service, because you can post a request for customer service on a social platform and get inputs which are experiential, which are far beyond what a traditional customer service organization can give.
Hanuman, let me now pick up on one of the points that Pawan spoke about, and this is a disruption. Just to sort of a very basic question. In terms of the ability to manage that disruption, where do we stand as an industry in the country today?
I have seen the focus has changed, and to Pawan's point there, we have seen the focus from AHTs and call handling moving to owning up the customers. We deal with the customers of our clients, and they're entrusting that role to us, which is like they're virtually entrusting their business to us. And it's our core responsibility not to only manage, or earlier we used to manage this industry on service levels and average handle time and ASAs. But now it is more on things like what has been my first call resolution. Means now, to Pawan's point, reducing AHT while will give you a financial gain, ensuring that the customer doesn't need to call you repeatedly and having a first call resolution will eliminate additional AHT, and that's something which makes a difference.
Okay, that's a good point. Sanjay, let me pick up some of the points that you mentioned. If I were to sort of ask you, while money and profitability is of course your core sort of dharma, is it also the fact that you yourself as a sector have not managed to brand yourself in Indian terms, that a lot of what you say, that a lot of what you represent seems to be alien?
I think things, when they are evolving and there's a new found glory and newfound hype, it gets overdone. It matures, like you said, with time. We also all get wiser that I think what got said was a little out of context or out of proportion, because all about the Americanization or Anglicization of the whole setup. But if you go to Delhi University, you don't see it any different. You go to Barista in any colony, you don't see it any different. Or any pub. It's not that only BPO guys go to all these places. So from that context, I think there was a combination from all sides.
If you were to quickly summarize this, I think it's all about running better and faster, even as others try and catch up with you. This is what really happens. As you keep running, you try and keep running better, and to even stand at the same place, you have to put in more effort. I think that's what the sector is all about. Better technology, going up the value chain, harnessing what is our one true capability, and all of those together, and hoping for the fact that infrastructure, capacities, skill development, investments by the government, more power, better power, bigger roads will all fall in place gradually as the entire country grows. I think that's the way it will go, and that's where the road will lead us.
I think we are currently at the best position we could be, and we've evolved over the last 10-12 years, and what the industry has gone through evolution phase. We started with the initial influx where we were just a cost arbitrage industry. Now we are seeing that over a period of time we've actually graduated to be a much value add position rather than just the cost arbitrage and just a labor supplier. So effectively the way the industry is going, I see that now that we are a $100 billion industry, the BPM is positively got to grow. We did have a lean phase, as I was talking in the session, where we saw some decline, but today we're catching up and we're growing at neck-breaking speed again.
Emerging technologies such as social, mobile, and cloud are really transforming the contact center into the new center of the customer experience. Our customers are realizing that the customer experience is driving loyalty, and applying these new technologies enables them to really enhance the customer experience to provide the most loyal customer base possible.
I think the future is extremely bright. We've got a very, very strong and healthy base. 1 lakh crores with 1 million people. Tremendous amount of experience and expertise. Where we can go with this is truly limited to our imagination, and that's primarily because for the first decade we've remained concentrated between 4 or 5 cities. I think it's the time to go ahead with expanding and diversifying into the next 40 cities.
Coming up, the technology panel discussion in Delhi. Technology has forever played a pivotal role in India's BPO success story. A major reason why BPOs are hanging up on India's call center culture is because they all are focusing on more value-added non-voice work like high-end analytics and cloud computing offerings. And the technology panel discussed its evolution in call centers in the country.
Sanjeev, personally I'm very close to Genpact, so very passionate to talk about some of these things. I see you guys drive a lot of business domain verticalization and those kind of things. I want to know from you is that, how important is it to know the business in addition to know the great thing about technology, your experiences?
The entire expectation over time actually has changed for the customers. The answer really is, do you understand the vertical? Do you understand the processes? Do you understand the domain? And then are you able to lead and have a conversation which says that here is the way I would look at your business, here's the way I look at your process, here are your outcome metrics, here are your drivers which impact the metrics, the outcome metrics at the end of the day, and then bundling it with technology is actually help drive that.
Anand, you kind of been into the depth of technology, if I were to kind of use that word for you, and you've kind of seen all kinds of technology evolve, mature, and you also have seen across the industries. What's your take on real technology-led innovation and transformation in BPO industry?
I think the one which is, which I am dealing with on a regular basis now has been, how do you actually use your customers? I mean, if you are talking to any of your prospective customer, the first thing he asks is what kind of value you're going to provide from their customer's perspective. That is to find out what are they doing in their leisure time. And those are the things which are coming out as something which customers are expecting, the BPO companies to come and say, hey, you know what, not only I will understand your customer, I will be able to even influence your customers to your particular airlines or to your business.
Thank you, Anand. You kind of brought me into the league of how technology is actually driving analytical business decision velas. You kind of make that good bridge between what business sees and what technology delivers. From your perspective, where do you think are the right kind of investment being made by the BPO companies, and also where do you think the right kind of investment being made by the customers? And do you see really a connect, or is it that we are trying to do something here which the customer isn't really paying attention to? So what's your take on that?
I think technology in a way is hygiene. Okay, so what we are seeing of recent is basically various cloud-based services, okay, platform as a service, and where actually you can pay per use. That gaining more currency rather than in the traditional way where we actually host in-premise models and you pay for the implementation and the infrastructure.
I want to move on to you, Harsh, because you come from a very mature service provider environment, and you guys have done a fair bit of innovation in areas like cloud, delivering services from anywhere, etc. So where are you seeing that? Is this cost variabilization model really the reality? And what are your, from your perspective, where do you see it go from here, where we just say it's a plain simple cloud and you could host anywhere?
Taking this forward, the way we look at technology, we have a four-pronged strategy. One is fundamentally, we have a very clear-cut strategy that we don't want to sell customers what we have, though we eventually at times do in our plumbing business, but we really want to sell our customers what they really want. Second, does it have a right commercial model? The third is typically on the operational modeling. Now, whether you go on the cloud, whether you do DIY, believe me, there is no one way of looking at things. You have to look at the needs and requirements, you have to look at regulatory, you have to look at security, you look at the entire aspects of it, and then you have to come out with an operational model. And finally, the last thing is the contractual TNCs. The contractual TNCs are extremely critical, and that is where, those fine prints are.
I would say first thing is for platform-based solutions, which is the new emerging technology, which is going to spur growth in BPO. And also we are going to be seeing more and more of outcome-based pricing models, so which will demand new technology innovations to make BPO successful. So integration with the cloud, hybrid models of hosted applications on the cloud, enabling
new offerings of BPO to the customer will be the things that we can look forward to.
Now, what are the challenges which I personally see in the BPO industry is how do we really look at increasing revenues? And increasing revenues come through something called as repeatability. Secondly, in the contact center space, the environment has changed. Now it is the platform which has to reach out to the domain experts, irrespective of the locations from where they operate. If we really need to move to the next level, I think it is very important to have a very strong vertical knowledge.
So BPOs are also gearing up to go beyond the traditional voice channel. They are having access to multiple channels like email, web chat, and they also are talking about SMS integration. Video is going to be the next big thing. So they have to be enabled to access video files coming into them. People are going to use from any kind of device. Mostly mobiles are also coming with video capabilities, and laptops are coming with that. Tablets are there. So people are accessing more of video. They should be geared up to access using a technology platform.
The BPO India Forum 2013 finally came to a close with India's pioneers showcasing how they've bridged the technology gap.